Hello, friends. In the series of learning computer organization and design, today we are going to discuss about a new topic which is memory organization. And in this session, particularly, we are going to focus on various types of the memory hierarchies which are available within the machine. So let's begin the topic with the introduction to the entire chapter, right? So here is the overview being provided. As I discussed earlier, we are going to begin the chapter with understanding the memory and its hierarchy within the machine. And in the later parts of the session, we will discuss about the main memory, the auxiliary memory, associative cache, and the virtual memory. And we will have a thorough discussion on all these memories in more detail. So let's focus on today's agenda, which is purely based on the memory hierarchy. So, usually, what is a memory hierarchy? Hierarchy simply means the way it is been organized within the machine, right? So, hierarchy is this term. So, the idea is that how the memory is being organized. What is the hierarchy? What are the various levels that we need to approach in order to access the data? So, usually, why we are having the memory hierarchy existing within the machine? It is only because we wanted to obtain the highest possible average access speed. Means we just want that whenever the system demands some data, that should be available for us, right? So, if each and every responsibility or each and every kind of data will be present here in the main memory, then its response time will slow. Okay, so that's why usually we are having a hierarchy where we are placing different types of data in the different types of the memory, which will further help us in minimizing the total cost of the entire memory system. So this is the biggest benefit of achieving the memory hierarchy. Now let's understand about what is this memory hierarchy consisting of. So you can see that there is a CPU, there is a main memory, and this is IO processor. So definitely these would be the IO devices or the peripherals, right? Now, the CPU can have direct access with the main memory. We know that. Now, main memory is usually considered very large in comparison to all the other memories which are existing within the machine. Now, usually CPU refers to the main memory for computing its operations. But sometimes what happens is that CPU needs to frequently access the same data. So whenever we need to access the same data from this large space, so it will again takes the more time of the CPU, right? So what we are doing is we are keeping that particular data, which is the same kind of data which we are accessing frequent basis, we keep it in this particular kind of memory. Okay, we call this memory as a cache memory. Now cache memory is residing in between the CPU as well as in the main memory. So the basic characteristics of the cache memory is it is very fast in comparison to the main memory because it is very small in the size, but it is come with the cost factor. It is having very it is very high, expensive in nature. Later on, when we will discuss more about the cache memory, we will elaborate more of its properties, right? So now there comes another kind of memory, which is, I suppose, new to all of you. That is the auxiliary memory. Now, auxiliary memory usually is coming under the category of, you could say that, the secondary memory. Where what happens is that the devices, the peripheral devices, which are usually consisting of magnetic disks and magnetic tapes, which generally holds the programs or large data files, okay, as well as the backups. So these all kind of auxiliary memories are responsible for storing such kind of data. Can access the main memory but only through the IO processor. So this is the another property being required. So usually it has been asked that what is the memory hierarchy? Then this diagram plays very important role, that the memory hierarchy is consisting of auxiliary memory, main memory, cache memory, CPU and IOP. So in order that auxiliary memory to talk to the main memory, we need the IO processor. So, in between the communication of CPU and main memory, there lies a cache memory, which is holding the same data which the main memory is having, but only the data which the CPU is frequently accessing will be stored here in this cache memory. So, let's understand in more detail about this auxiliary memory, main memory, and the other components of the memory hierarchy. So, here is the thing. So, the very first point is what is the main memory, right? So basically, memory unit that communicates directly with the CPU. So we know that there is a CPU and there is a memory unit. So when the direct communication takes place, that can happen only through the main memory. Now, the devices that provides backup storage are called as the auxiliary memory. As I said earlier also, usually we will be using magnetic disks and magnetic tapes as an auxiliary memory option. So we are basically having the facility of storing the backups in these kind of auxiliary memory. And they are also used for storing some system programs, some large files, and other kind of backup information. So this is entirely about the auxiliary memory. So what sort of data can be present here in the auxiliary memory and how it is different from the main memory? So only the programs and data which we are currently needed by the processor that will reside in the main memory. Okay, so this is very important point to understand because accessing the main memory is very, you could say that a time consuming task because of its size. It is very large in size. So what happens in this case is, so that program or that kind of data which is usually coming frequently in the instructions, so we are storing that kind of data in this main memory. So all the other information related to the data will be stored in the auxiliary memory, and it will ultimately be transferred into the main memory whenever the main memory needs it. Because not every data we are accessing frequently, right? So the old data or the outdated data can be stored in the auxiliary memory. But there could be a need that whenever the main memory needs that data which is infrequently being accessed, so the simply from the auxiliary memory, it will be shuffled to the main memory. So then there comes the another kind of memory. We usually called it as a cache memory. So it is a special, very high speed memory. So this is the basic characteristics of the cache memory. It is sometimes used to increase the speed of processing by making the current programs and data available to CPU at a rapid rate. As I said earlier, so in between the CPU and the main memory will reside the cache memory. So usually this memory is to speed up, okay, because within the memory unit or within the main memory it will take consume a lot of time to fetch the data, to decode and to perform all the data. So what we will do, we will place the data in the cache which is near to the CPU. So just because it is small in the size, the data can be accessed in the quickest instant of time, right? So that's why we are using the cache memory. So cache is used for storing segments of the programs currently being executed in the CPU and temporary data frequently needed in the present calculation. So such kind of data is basically existing within the cache memory. Now there comes the two terms that again plays an important role. So that's why I have added in this particular slide. One is the micro programming. So what does this means? It refers to the existence of many programs in different parts of the main memory at the same time. That is the micro programming. Micro means segmentation, programming of programs. When we are dividing one simple program into different parts of the memory, then what we will call them as the micro programming. Now micro programming plays a very important role in case of the memory hierarchy, because within the main memory, if we are segmenting the data, then we can easily refer the data at different places, and compiling the data at different places will be easy task for us. Then there is a memory management system. So what does it means? The part of the computer system that supervises the flow of information between the auxiliary memory and the main memory. That we called it as a memory management system. Like within the auxiliary memory and the main memory, the data is usually transferred in the form of the through the IOPs, input output processor. So we will be having a component, or here we call them as it as the memory management system. Now let's have a bit understanding about what is this particular main memory. We know that the main memory is usually consisting of RAM and ROM, right? So there are various RAM chips and the ROM chips which are available within the computer machine. So let's understand the demonstration of a one RAM chip. So here is one RAM chip which I have taken with the size 128, right, cross A, 8. So 8 is the kind of the, you could say, the size of the data that it is having, and 128 is the total size of the RAM. So 128 usually is considered as 2 raised to power 7 is equals to 128. All right. So what happens is that these are the two chip selects, because as I said earlier, these RAM and ROM, these are the two chips being used within the machine. So CS1 and CS2 complement is actually being used to demonstrate which RAM chip is to be active at a which point of time. Okay. So this is the chip select 1 and chip select 2, that will remain same in case of ROM as well. Now the next is within the RAM, you can read the data and you can also update the data. So these are the two signals being there. And there is another key term which is this address line of which is of 7 bits. As I said, the total size of the memory is 128. This is just an example being taken here. Okay, so we need 7-bit address space to accommodate 128 addresses or the words into it, and this 8 is nothing but the size of the word. Okay, so let's start understanding about the functionality of this RAM chip, which is consisting of this much of specification. So normally the CS1 and CS2. CS1 is basically the chip which is determining the RAM chip is active, and CS2 is basically for the ROM. So as we are studying here for the RAM chip, we will only concentrate when the RAM chip is the CS1 is equals to 1. So here is when both the values are 0 0, then it means nothing read or write will take place. It will be in inhibited or in high impedance state, right? So whenever the CS is 0, RAM is not activated, but ROM chip is active. So definitely the ROM chip will perform its functionality. So it has nothing to do with the RAM chip. That's why it is again in inhibited condition in case of RAM. So now when the chip select is equals to 1, now this value is equals to 1 and this is equals to 0. And neither read or nor write operation takes place. So my chip is active, but I am not performing any operation on it. So again, it will be in the inhibited state or in the high impedance state. So whenever I will perform any data like write signal is active, so it will start writing the data into the RAM. Same is the case for chip select 1 being active and I am performing the read operation. So when both the values are 1 1, in such case, otherwise this would not happen, but even if it is happening, so it is again an inhibited condition. Why it is so? Because at a single point of time, either RAM or ROM, I can select only one. So that is why this is how this chip select will work in case of the RAM. Then there comes the ROM chip. Here also I have taken one example of which is consisting of 512 size of the RAM with 8 words being the size. So 512 is basically 2 raised to power 9. So that is why 9-bit address is required. 9 address lines are required for demonstrating the ROM chip. And this is the same chip select, CS1 and CS complement, right? So CS2 complement. CS2 is for ROM and CS1 is for RAM. That this particular chip select will remain the same, and it is requiring the 8-bit database. Now in the ROM, we can only perform one operation, that is the read operation, that we need to understand always, right? There is no write operation that we can take place. So that is why we need not to demonstrate it individually, because there is only one operation that we can perform within the ROM. So we need not to define that it is a read operation. So by default, or you could say that it is the read operation only that will be performed using the chip selects and using these 9 bits address value. Okay. So I hope that you were able to understand the basics of the memory hierarchy. So students, in the next session, we will define the memory address mapping, which is very important. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining this session. Have a nice day. Thank you.